Hi, this is Tutor Nick P, and this is lesson 27. Today we're going to cover the difference between food and foods. Okay. Yeah, sometimes it'll come up. Students will ask, well, why do we sometimes say foods and food? Of course, we do hear food almost all the time. We eat food every day. Food is a very, very common word. Now, for a majority of time, food is almost always an uncountable noun, so we don't say foods that much. Here's some typical example where we just say food. I went to the supermarket and bought a lot of food. Of course, in this case, you probably bought different types of food. I'm sure you bought eggs and meat and milk and cereal, whatever, but we still say food in this sort of situation. It's definitely an uncountable noun here. I never hear anybody say, I went to the store and bought a lot of foods. They don't say that. They say, I bought a lot of food. Or here, I ate a ton of food at that buffet. Yeah, people like to pig out and eat many different types of food. They want to get their money's worth, so they eat many, many different types of food. But still, in this case, we just say food. I ate a ton of food. We don't say I ate a ton of foods. We definitely don't use it in that sense. So, again, the far majority of the time, food is an uncountable noun. All right, so when do we use the term food? Or when do we use this word? The term foods is mostly used when it refers to specific types or categories of food. Yeah, especially in kind of like these noun phrases we'll have here. Here are some of the most common examples. Health foods, diet foods, baby foods. Yeah, maybe you might have a lot of selection of different sort of baby foods to choose from. Processed foods. Yeah, we hear about that these days all the time, where everybody's telling you maybe it's pretty unhealthy for you. Ethnic foods, gluten-free foods, whole foods. These are some of the more common examples that we come across when we hear the term foods these days. There are more, but these are some of the more famous ones, the more popular ones that turn out. Okay. All right, let's go on. So here's a few examples, even with the foods. You should try to reduce the amount of processed foods you consume in your diet. Yeah, so here, again, we're using it as kind of like a noun phrase, processed foods. There is a health foods store in my neighborhood. Yeah, again, so this is mostly the way we use the word foods. You can also hear this. You may also sometimes see the word foods used in the titles of articles, magazines, maybe even some book titles. All right, such as, here's an example, 50 foods that are good for you. Now remember, in a title, sometimes they allow writers a little bit more liberty. Titles are not always 100% grammatically correct, so you should realize that too. So maybe you can get away with it a little bit more in a title. But just like I'm noting here, however, there may be some experts who disagree whether this usage is acceptable. Just to hear the word foods used by itself. Again, most of the time we hear foods, we hear it as a noun phrase, like health foods, diet foods, baby foods. Who disagree whether this usage is acceptable or not. If you want to avoid it, you could reword it as types of food. Sometimes you want to play it safe. You want to make sure it doesn't sound grammatically incorrect or awkward. You might just reword it to play it safe. But again, the most common ways is in these sort of noun phrases. Okay. Well, I hope that clarifies the difference for you. I hope you can now know the difference of when foods is the main one to concentrate on, because the far majority of time we just use food as an uncountable noun. Thank you for your time.